You know,
I feel like it's this. Are you not entertained?
you know,
That's Carlton. Are you not
I'll tell you something.
entertained?
I'll tell you something. We sat here last week at the end of the episode, and I remember saying to both of you, I hope I don't know if it's going to happen, but I hope we're sitting here next Sunday and we're talking about going to a prelim. Boys, we go to a fucking prelim.
Wow, insane. It truly is insane.
Oh,
I'm still in genuine shock.
For anyone watching or listening, if our voices let out tonight, I do apologise. My voice has not recovered since Friday. Like I know a few are probably feeling too, but my God, boys, we witnessed something truly, truly, truly special. That was a miracle at the MCG, a genuine miracle.
Yeah. Any Mars call, if anyone's hasn't seen it yet, that's what he called it. He called it a miracle at the G. So it was just one of those nights where it looked like as if it was going to sort of go away from us. And in the end, it didn't. It didn't. Just crazy scenes. Crazy scenes.
They're usually, and we'll break it down in a minute. Well, let's seriously get stuck into this. But you know, these are the types of games and these are the types of scenes that I'm about to show you and we're about to listen to. If you're listening, just listen to what's coming up. And if you're watching, watch it all and soak it in again. I'm sure you have already, but these types of scenes are what we're usually on the receiving end of. And to finally be in the position where it was us crying, hugging people, strangers, and all, it was just let's relive this before we get into it. I give no credit to this side ever. I give no respect to this side. John O'Rourke, honorary Blues brother, Will Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Paul Sebastiani, welcome back to the show, mate.
This one game is a build-up of, a year's worth of work.
What did you think of his performance?
And I gave my opinion.
It's an opinion-based podcast, fair enough. Welcome, everyone, to a very, very special night of the Almost Blues Brothers podcast. Proudly powered by the Blue Abroad Podcast Network and YouTube channel and proudly sponsored by Vortep. Episode 108, boys. And
Vortep?
yes,
it's not about Vortep today.
No. Well, hold on. Just go, Jules.
I bumped into Mr. Vortep today, and he ensured me that we needed to wear the gear, and we're wearing it. I just wanted to make sure. He said he was going to listen tonight as well, so hopefully he's in the chat.
He put a comment in there. He put a comment in there.
He gave me a call 2 minutes ago. Daniel Petrov, the CEO of Vortep. I'm just going to say, don't call me 2 minutes before the show because I'm not going to answer. But he did send me a message, and he has said, for however long that Carlton stay in the finals for, Vortep will up its discount for Almost Blues Brothers listeners using that code to 20% off. So if you go to that little website that's streaming down the bottom here, vortep.com.au, Almost Blues Brothers at the checkout, you're not going to get 10% off. You're going to get 20% off for as long as the Blues stay in the finals hunt. And he ensures me as well that there's a couple of past players that have jumped on the Vortep train as well. So it's good stuff. If you haven't already, go get your Vortep. Now, boys, we I just want to set the scene before we go into. I'm not even going to ask how your weekend was this week. We don't need to worry about anything outside of footy because this is beyond anything that I think any of us thought we'd be talking about at this point. But I initially coming out of the game, I was like, "Fuck! I wish we had video of us in the Acres moment or the final siren," and we didn't this week because my sister wasn't there or one of our partners wasn't there filming candidly and whatnot. And I thought, you know what, it is what it is. We enjoyed the moment, we got the memory. Well, today there was a listener that messaged us on Instagram. I think his name was Josh from memory. And there's something floating around on TikTok, and I'm about to show this video. And if you just look a couple of rows in front of where this camera is, you get some insight. This is the Blake Acres goal. You get some insight into how we were. And if you listen really closely, you can actually hear me scream above all the noise, Acres, as the ball is traveling inside. Just have a listen to this and have a look at this.
Best moment of my life. Genuinely.
Wow.
You know that none of us actually saw the goal.
Celebrating already.
We kept saying that after the game.
The three of us didn't know how close he was to missing until the morning after.
It didn't matter. It actually didn't matter in the end.
Boys, Joe, I've said enough. I've said enough. Just before we get into it and do our little bit, just off the top, how are you feeling?
I can't feel myself still. Just incredible. Honestly, it's all just incredible in terms of, especially the last few minutes, knowing where we're at and whether we're going to be able to get past, their May and leave in terms of intercepts, in terms of their intercepting. And we just worked our way through it. And they probably almost lost it in the end themselves, really. But based off moments, and matches are made of moments, but especially finals, we just stuck in and got the job done in the end, and onto a prelim. It's just sensational, especially what some of the players put themselves through. Obviously the course of the last couple of games, but especially on Friday night against Melbourne.
Everyone's got a G up because we are going to a prelim final. Joe, thank you for playing those videos to start the show, because the amount of goosebumps and the mood that it's now put me in to do this show is something different. Guys, I'm getting married in 7 weeks. And I'll tell you right now, that night is genuinely shit. I better not say this too loud, eh? That will be the best moment of my life. The way we won. There you go.
There is going to have to be something seriously special to top that. And I'm sure if we win a granny, that'll be the best footballing moment we'll ever experience. But for now, there is nothing in the world that can give you the rush that all of us experienced through our body in that last minute of that game. Nothing. You cannot compare it.
To think how many times we've been on the other receiving end of something like that, and then to do it how we did, like the fact that Doherty, like with all that he went through in the game with his shoulder, took an overhead mark and then kept, it's just the whole thing. When I played in my head, I had to sit there after the game for 20 minutes after the game and just stare and think, what has just gone on?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like the noise levels, we're talking proper decibel stuff, really.
Yeah.
Well, Lloydie said it against Sydney. That's the loudest he's ever heard. And obviously being an former Essendon player. And then on the actual radio on Friday night, he actually said that that's the loudest, that he's ever heard. So 96,000 people packed in like that, and predominantly Carlton, mind you, just in sensational scenes.
I just love how Akers marked that ball, and we've all turned to each other and just grabbing each other's heads. We're just going,
mate.
oh my God. Like,
How about after the sign, just like seeing everyone? It's just like pandemonium type stuff. Like limbs are just going everywhere. Like Sam Doherty wasn't the only person that popped his shoulder on Friday night. That's for sure.
I did. Yep.
Yeah.
I did.
He popped his shoulder celebrating.
Jules, that when all the adrenaline left, even Joe's girlfriend goes and looks at my shoulder and says, Dan, your shoulder's drooped. And Jules, you both know last time what happened when my shoulder was drooped.
Yeah, no good.
Today, all around my back is killing me. Because when we all grabbed each other at the end, someone landed on top of my shoulder to grab us, and I think it pushed it down.
Yeah, because I'm telling you now, there were people, I have never seen pandemonium anywhere like that, where there's people from 2-3 rows down and 2-3 rows back just climbing over the top of each other just to try and hug each other, strangers, crying, kissing, hugging. Like, it was insane. On the decibel level, Jules, I don't know if we've got an official reading, but Jared Waitley this morning said he spoke to long-time MCG officials that have been to every game you can think of, every big game that you can think of. And they said they have never, ever, ever heard the MCG as loud as what it was in that last minute of the game. And the stands were genuinely shaking.
Yeah,
they were shaking.
It was incredible.
It was insane. Anyway, we're about to get into this. We're not going to do the usual. You know what we're going to do? I've decided what we're going to do here. We're just going to watch. We're going to watch it again. We're just going to watch this. I'm going to do it again, and then we're going to get into the show. Let's go. It just gets the blood pumping. I've watched it. I have watched those scenes. I reckon. I mean, I'm almost at the triple figures this weekend watching that shit.
From Weeders, Hollands, Doc to then Akers. It's just poetry in motion, really.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's just incredible, the ball movement from considering like the last couple of minutes of the game in terms of the way we actually scored that. It's crazy. And Melbourne not able to stop us.
There's a lot in that play that I want to get to when we get to the last quarter. We're going to break this down quarter by quarter, and we're going to talk about this in a minute. But there's a lot in that play where you can't script it. You genuinely can't script it. But anyway, match report, and I am so proud to be reading this out in a semi-final in front of 96,412 people at the MCG, Melbourne's biggest crowd ever, I believe, or one of, which is thanks to 70,000 Carlton fans. Final scores, 9-17-71. The Melbourne Demons go down by 2 points to the mighty Carlton Football Club, 11-7-73. The goal kickers for the Blues, Owies, Curnow, Kennedy with one each. DeConning, Motlop, Walsh, and Blake Akers with two each. Injuries for the Blues, Doherty with the shoulder, obviously Cripps with the nose, but they both played it out. Ollie Hollands replaced David Cunningham in the fourth, and Ollie Hollands was a massive, massive part of that win. And boys, I just want to go back to we've revisited the end, we've revisited the scenes. Let's take everyone back to pre-game build-up. And for us, I want to give a shout out off the top. I want to give a shout out off the top before we go into this to Shannon Gore from the Cheer Squad, and she's a BA staple with the Blue Broad Women's Show as well with Kira. She hooked us up. She hooked us up with helping out with the banner on the ground pre-game. And Jules and I, we went to banner night. We went to banner night during the week, and it was special, boys. But the best part, Jules,
wasn't happening.
The best part, Jules, is we told Dan we weren't going on the ground for the banner. We missed out, and he didn't find out until about half.
You have another video?
I don't. I wish I uploaded that one, but I don't. I'll put it up on the socials.
Put it on the socials. Put it on the socials.
I
Mate,
was
what an occasion. You know what the thing is? Like thinking, because obviously we didn't have proper passes. So to be able to get to the other side of the ground in which we needed to get to the gate, you know, where we needed to was just within itself was was tricky. So to be able to do that, it was sensational stuff. But when we're actually there, the energy.
Dan, just explain everyone how you felt when we told you at Public House prior to the game.
Well, I was just, all right. I'll go into my emotions because it literally started. That's what I'm telling you. It's actually the best day of my life because we're at Public House. We're there. We're already excited. We're already excited for the game. And then you guys just go, damn, we've got something to tell you. And I'm thinking, but there was 10 of us. So everyone knows was there 10 of us, Joe? Or 8, 10, whatever.
Yeah, it was 10.
And all of you just started staring at me. And I'm thinking, what kind of news are you going to tell me before the game that's really going to get me? I thought, yeah, anyway. Then you've asked Jules the question about what are we doing today? And Jules gone, we're going on the footy. And you're like, and I'm like, yeah, okay. So what's this surprise? And Joe goes, yeah, but what are we doing at the footy? And Jules goes, we're going on the ground. And I went, my head just went, boof.
You're like a big kid.
Big kid. I felt like my whole childhood was flashing before my eyes.
It's crazy.
You know what was funny, Jules? When you explained that and you spoke about the way we had to go there, I was frothing because we're in the car park.
Yeah, the car park doing it. Because do you know
when we're in the race, I was frothing just being in the race.
Like when we're walking, like, oh, this is like, you know, where they get injured and
stretch it and that.
The ambulance comes and picks them up and so on. So it was just very, very surreal, I reckon.
Well, the most surreal part was when we were there and we turn around and our esteemed leader, Michael Voss, we are face to face with him and we just lost it. We lost it.
Well, Vossy, take blood. And he was just laser beam, didn't want to pass that. And we all turned to each other and went, they're ready. They're ready. Yeah.
He was in the zone, wasn't he?
But what about guys? What about being on the ground? We come out. It was unbelievable experience. Yeah, actually being on there. But what about how loud the boos were for Melbourne?
Oh,
it was like having 4 Sonos speakers around your head hearing those boos. Yeah, it was nuts.
It was. Like I think that was the first time we all realized how many of us there were there that night. Yeah. So being in the middle of the ground and the Melbourne players start to run out, the boos were deafening. Like and I being on the ground, I tried to envision myself as a player running out to that. It was so hostile. We made the MCG for Melbourne in their home game. We made it so fucking hostile for them from the start. From the very start, from the get-go. It was crazy.
Yeah. Are we going to speak about the game yet or not? Still pre?
No, if we want to go into the game, we can. Yeah, let's go.
My thing is just about that, Joe. Even though Melbourne were on top early in terms of their converting with Petrarca and so on, kicking the first couple of goals, I felt like as if the players, obviously with their ball movement and skill execution, wasn't quite there. But because of the grit, because of the determination, and we could sense it as supporters, we're still loud, we're still passionate, and we're still driven to obviously cheer and spur them on. I don't know. I feel like as if the connection that we have both with the players and the fan base, or the greater fan base, we're just like on this ride and this journey together. And you can see the connection, like, even in the with post game, with Motlop down Lygon Street post game, which we've seen scenes of, and them cheering him on, and just like things like that. I think the connection is massive. Like going back to the Essendon game, where you sort of had probably a bit of a disconnect between fans and some fans in particular, to now, it's just a massive turnaround.
But you get it through winning. Look at what winning does. Like we're now in a prelim final, and obviously like we're on cloud 9 even more. Like this is what winning does, and it starts at that. And I just, what I look at is the intensity of that game. The action, and I go, that's a grand final. Like you think about, now we're going to play Brisbane at the Gabba. These guys have played in front of 96,000. All right. They've already said that something like that they're already primed for, and that you can see it. Like the intensity that this group now, like work rate, all this stuff that we've been talking about, it's innate into this group to just give something more. And they've just, the way in which they can stay in games, that always gives them a chance. And the way in which they can now punish is just, it is honestly, we are a force because of the intensity that we play at is just next level. And Brisbane should be scared, because I'm telling you right now, Melbourne's a team that can cope with that. Hence why it was so close. All right. But I'm telling you right now, I know Brisbane at the Gabba are good, but they will not be able to handle when we are nipping at their heels and making it so hard in every contest. Because Melbourne match us at that, but Brisbane, they're not going to know what's hit them.
Yeah, Brisbane just
want to wait.
Yeah, I agree with that. And we'll get to the Brisbane preview later. And I think you're right. I think you've hit the nail on the head. Good summary. If you are here and you're watching, there's a few of you watching tonight. I think this is one of our bigger shows, boys. But if you are watching live, smash that like button, subscribe to the Blue Broad channel. If you're listening on a Spotify or Apple, just give us a follow and 5 stars and a review would be greatly appreciated. On the point of that, this team just doesn't know how to give up, and we now know how to stay in games. We started the game slow. Like we were under the pump. We were 3 goals down within, the first 10, 15 minutes of the game. And that, I remember last week on this podcast, we said that's something that we can't afford, because I think that's curtains if we let them get off the leash early. And I think they had 5 scoring shots in about 10 minutes of football. And it looked like, for a team that Melbourne, I'm talking about, for a team that has been struggling to score, the fact that they were able to get so many looks at goal so early, I was seriously worried. I was thinking this just isn't our night. Melbourne want it that much more, and this is where it does take a little bit of individual brilliance sometimes, and it's why I think, because of the top end talent that you've spoken about so much, Jules, across the year, and harped on about, I think this is why it's so important now at this point into the season. Tom De Koning, we've hammered him at times this year. I think a lot of supporters have. I take it all back. And I sincerely apologize, because Tom De Koning, that was his coming out party, boys. He kicks 2 goals when all of the momentum is against us, when everything's going against us in that first quarter. And I think without those 2 goals, without Tom seriously stepping up and announcing himself on that sort of stage, I don't know if we win that game. I really don't.
Well, we definitely don't. We definitely don't have the start, do we? Like, that obviously helped us settle. Do you remember, Jules, I was speaking to you about it, and it was just like we needed something for us to just settle and to get into. And you could see that once he kicked those 2, we started to get our pressure game going. We started to get our ball movement going. We started to really just come into the occasion a lot better.
I remember, for me, it wasn't much of an issue in terms of our work rate or intensity. Like I don't think at this stage of the season, particularly the last 3 months, we can sort of question that from us. It was more so just our decision making with ball in hand, particularly early on, and just bombing it in to the likes of May and likes of Lever. I think May or Lever, I can't remember which one, but I think they took like 3 or 4 intercept marks in the space of the first 10 minutes or so. That's crazy. That's crazy to be able to do that within, a quarter of football, let alone 10, 15 minutes. So I think TDK obviously was a massive help. I think Harry's going to be even more helpful, obviously, next game against Brisbane. But I think we sort of changed that moving forward post that, even in terms of trying to get Lever and May sort of away from yourself, so then they're able to help each other. That was a big thing, I reckon.
You speak about Stephen May. He held Charlie all night. Charlie, I know we're talking about the start of the game here, and we're breaking it down quarter by quarter, but by the end of the game, there were 2 contests late in the game between Charlie and May, and Charlie genuinely gave up. He looked at him and went, "You've got me." And May, if Melbourne had won that game, it was purely down to Stephen May and his efforts. Because I thought to that point, prior to us kicking that goal to put us in front late in the game, I thought Stephen May was best on ground. He was dominant over Charlie. Charlie couldn't get. This is what I'm saying. Without Tom doing what he did early on to provide an extra marking target up forward and hitting the scoreboard and whatnot, we don't win that game. There's no way. And hey, this is what it gets you as well.
God. The coning's in the air, everywhere I look around. The coning's everywhere, leaving bodies on the ground. And he's better than his brother, even better than his dad. There's only one Thomas De Koning, and he's the best one we'll ever have. De Koning's in the air. Da, 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 da. The Coning's in the air. Da, 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 da.
Mate, going global.
That's nuts.
Global.
I couldn't believe that when you showed me that.
It's crazy.
First it was Ange, and now it's De Koning.
It's crazy. But even the highlights they showed in that package, right? That was put together by the club, obviously. But even the highlights of Tom flying for the footy and whatnot, just brilliant. Like, this is what we've been waiting for from Tom, clunking and hitting packs and hitting the scoreboard, mate. Worth every penny and more. Every penny and more.
It's funny because you said you're obviously leading that from top end talent, but and are you saying that that's now De Koning in that category of top end talent? I'm looking at it and going, as well that you're looking at again another team performance.
Oh, of course.
Because we didn't have Charlie kicking 6 again. Like, it was another week where we didn't have that. Again, May kept him quiet, and we had just like people like Fogarty. You look at his game, and I know like Walsh will talk about Cripps, Weeders, but every single player is playing a massive part in, Jules, what you always talk about, in moments.
Yeah,
and finals, and the way our game is, and the way we play with our contest, our pressure, it is just we're there to make a stance, and it's huge.
For me, it's the moments that are huge in a game of football, let alone finals. But off the back of that, it's just the connection that the players have within themselves and with each other. Yeah. You can just see it. You can just sense it, even post game, which is sensational. But you can't argue that we have had, well, particularly against Melbourne, some players where they're built for finals. They're genuinely built for finals. And that being none other than Sam Walsh. What he was able to do, and to be fair, to be honest, I think I said it in one of our group chats today, he's probably going to win the best player of the series of the finals if we do make the grand final. He'd be up there.
Him and Akers.
I reckon Akers is probably just there behind him.
From moments wise.
For moments, Akers, but in terms of Walsh, what he's been able to do, like he's kicked 2 goals. And mind you, the goal that he did kick, his second goal in the last quarter, which was like within 10-30 seconds, whatever it was. After that, he hadn't touched the ball. He didn't touch the ball for like 10, 15 minutes and then just put on a 6-7 just to will us on. Just incredible. Well, and he sort of set the scene in midfield with the likes of Patrick Cripps and Chera after the 10 minutes or so in the first quarter.
I just think we've with the injuries that he's had to sustain and get through, especially over the last year or two, right? It's sort of been a bit stop-start for Walshy. And I think he's up until this point, he's probably been lost in the shuffle. Not lost in the shuffle a little bit, but when we look at our team and the stars that we've got, I think 4 or 5 years ago, we looked at him and he was number one. Like we've got the best player in the comp and he's only 18 years old. And I think over the last 4 or 5 years, because so many others have stepped up around him, he's been lost in that shuffle. But I remember turning to you both at halftime when he had whatever he had, almost 20 disposals or something to that point,
like
and
16,
made 6
17
tackles
something.
and hit the
Yeah.
scoreboard and whatever it was. I remember turning to you and just going, he's just reminded all of us how good he is. Like, he is, everyone talks about generational talents, right? This kid, he's only 23 still. And he looks like on a stage like that, he looked like he'd been there 50 times. He looked like that's how comfortable he looked on that stage.
Yeah. For me, it's all down to his work rate. Like, you have a look at his touches. So there was like a map for quarter 1, quarter 2, 3, 4, and each sort of minute of each quarter where he would touch the ball. Sorry. A lot of it's late on. In the last quarter, he had like 6 or 7 in like the space of not even 10 minutes. Not even kidding. He just outruns and outworks everyone. And off the back of that, over the last year or so, he's been able to go inside as well. So he's got both elements of his game down packed. So it's very, very hard to tag a player like that, particularly with his work rate and his running ability. It's incredible. Just an absolute professional.
He is. And no surprise. I think he's BOG for all three of us, but it's deserved. Like, kicking 2 goals, 34 touches, and just like you said, Jules, just plugging away all game.
I think you had
It's
did he have 8 tackles or 10?
Yeah, something like that.
What is
Something
that?
Something like that, Jules. It was
But
like, in 8 or 9.
It's in an environment like that. Like, didn't shy away from it from the first minute to the last. Like, did not shy away from the bright lights, the big stage, the noise, everything. Like, just kept plugging away like it was a game in round 4.
It's the way he took his goals, though. Even the way he took his goals, like, it's just the composure to be able to finish like that in those moments. We kept saying, like, that's back to the form that did him so well in that Brownlow year. Like the Brownlow, so what did he get? 3rd, was it, boys? 3rd.
Yeah, he had 30 votes, finished 3rd behind Wines or something.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I want to go back now to obviously the review, but more so the second quarter. And I want to talk about that because that's honestly that there set a massive tone in what we're able to do where we kick 5 goals straight. And you talk about turning a momentum. That quarter there was a massive momentum shift. It was huge.
Why do you think? Why do I think?
We had off the back of this Jules, what I spoke about before, with this innate intensity and pressure to win the ball and create 3v1, just a contest. We had, listen to this for a stupid stat. Jules, I know you'll do your calcs. We had 23 tackles to 7.
Yeah.
Is that your calc? Is that your calc?
That's what I was going to speak about.
I'm sorry. I'm actually sorry. I'm actually sorry.
Yeah.
But because I actually don't remember a lot of the game because there was that much emotion going on. When I got home, I was 2G'd. I didn't sleep that night. And I watched the replay and I saw that and I was just freaking out of how good that quarter was. And look at what happens on the back of that type of pressure. Jules, you go.
Back of the type of pressure, you're able to convert chances. And it's just momentum, really. Like, and it's been built off momentum over the last 3 months. But yeah, I think the second quarter, that's where our connection was better from mid forward. But we won the ball, we won the footy around the contest. Walsh, Cripps, Chera, Hewitt went to work. Yeah, and then off the back of that, the ball was hitting grass. The ball was hitting grass, boys. And then you have the likes of Motlop, Owies, and
we spoke about this last week.
Going to work.
Yep.
Going to work.
We spoke about that last week.
Charlie doesn't need to kick a bag. He doesn't need to kick a bag.
No.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice. But he doesn't need to kick a bag. He's
due.
I think Charlie still has some areas to improve in that area, to be honest. I think he let May go a little bit. He probably could have done a little bit better there, but in the end, we've done enough.
I
We've done
think-
enough. So
I think
So can I ask?
sorry,
Can I ask just quickly when we laid those 23 tackles to 6, whatever it was, how what was the time period of that?
Oh, because I remember. So after that, there was when I looked at that stat, and you can quote me if I'm wrong, Jules, but there was 4 minutes left of the quarter.
yeah, more or less, yeah, something like that.
So we laid
I don't know how
23
many-
tackles. We
In a
laid
quarter.
23 tackles in about
Pretty much a
23
quarter.
minutes. 23
Yeah.
minutes. For context, the reason I'm asking, when we're at our, and this is again just to highlight the turnaround and just keep remembering where we've come from. For context, we laid 33 tackles in a full game of football against
There you go.
Essendon in round 13.
Yeah.
That is where this team is now at.
Like, you don't coach that.
This is why adversity helps you in the long run. This is why pain drives you, like you were talking about last week, Jules. Like 23 tackles in 20 minutes versus 33 tackles in 2 hours. That's where we're at.
They say hard times make hard men.
Yep.
Sort of living with that at the moment, aren't we?
Yep. Well, go, Dan. Sorry for cutting you off.
But do you not look at this playing group now and go, they are men? Like, how much were we sort of saying in the past that, they're still boys, or we're having that sort of perception of a lot of them, but the way in which they're standing up in moments and in the game, and in what we're seeing is just, it's next level, and they're primed for not just this year, for years to come. So as Blue supporters, how excited are you all? Because I know I am literally itching for now the next 3 to 5 years or more. Like, it's just pretty exciting. Yeah.
This is long term. This is long term now. There's full confidence in this group that we're not looking back. This is all about looking forward, and whatever happens next week and from here on out for the rest of this season. Yeah, we've said this multiple times now. This is full faith in this group going forward.
Yeah,
full faith.
In the second quarter, like Motlop sort of, I think that's when he kicked his first. I'm pretty sure. He's one that's sort of come of age this year. I know he's only like 19, 20 years old, but the one stage of the game, I think Gawn had missed a goal or didn't take a mark or whatever it was, and Motlop was in his face.
Yeah,
he's just being a pest. He's come of age. He's come to leaps and bounds, and just his presser and tact to want to outwork his opponents and tackle and harass. He's come of age. That's for sure.
I'll tell you something that I really have realized in seeing this final series, unveil. And I know we're sort of jumping a bit, Joe, but there's one thing that Voss has always spoken about, and with a couple players, it was clear for me in the game. Now, he always speaks about embracing your mistakes and using that as fuel to keep going and going and going, and to not shy from the moments. And I remember Kennedy started off absolutely terrible. But Joe, you even remember turning and going, whoa, he's just made up for this in the way in which he kicked that goal, which was huge. And I just went, this is what I'm like, we're all seeing this playing group embrace, like even our ball use. Jules, remember how we're talking about the ball use? It just wasn't there in the first and wasn't there in the second. Or in the second, obviously picked up, but in the third, when they had that 20-minute stint, we were so dominant, but we were making that error. But I just kept seeing us go again and go again and go again to embrace these mistakes.
Just on that, I remember turning to both of you because we were trying to hit these. There was a very, very obvious ploy that we were trying to lower our eyes at every opportunity, right? And it kind of felt like it was even whether it was there or kind of not. But it was like they were obviously told, keep May and Lever out of the game as much as possible because we're trying to lower our eyes, hit the corridor, hit these little dinky 10, 15-meter putt, and they weren't quite coming off in that second and third quarter. And it almost cost us the game. And I remember we were getting so frustrated, all three of us just going, like, get it deep, get it one-on-one, get it deep, get it to ground level, get it deep, get it deep. And then late in the game, in the fourth, it was the second goal in the fourth. Matt Kennedy gets the ball, and rather than blazing away, he did what they were doing all night, and he lowered his eyes and he hit a target and always converted. And I remember turning to you both and saying, that's why you don't stray from your approach. You keep going back to the well. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you live and die by it. And that, at the end of the game, because they were prepared to live and die by it, those types of things are what got us over the line. Because if we started blazing away like we did against Sydney the week prior, May and Lever would have had 50 intercept marks between them. They just would have. And we stayed composed and we stuck to the task, and it eventually paid off. So it's this bigger picture that we're all, I think, as a fan base now seeing, where we used to get sucked into, like I remember in the Brisbane and St Kilda games, every mistake from earlier this year, every mistake, there was this, from the crowd, like, oh my God, what are you doing? Oh my God, what are you doing? It's not there anymore. You're at games and you can hear it. When there's a mistake, we're just willing them on to the next contest. And they're willing themselves on to the next contest because we know you just got to fucking move on. Make the mistake, move on, but keep plying your trade. Keep going back to the well. Keep doing what you got to do because of moments like Kennedy to always in the last that get us back in front. Like, that's huge. That is massive. That's a huge light bulb that's flicked.
It's belief. It's belief, Joe.
Now, we almost did cost ourselves the game. I will say this, because our ball use in that third quarter especially, we had them on toast for 20 minutes, boys. 20 minutes. But some of the decision-making and execution, I know it's a final, it's a massive final, you're under pressure, but it was simple shit. Like, not capitalizing on 50-meter penalties, just little 10, 15-meter kicks that couldn't even hit the target and direct turnover. Like, we genuinely almost cost us the game. The only thing that kept us in it was the fact that Melbourne doesn't know how to hit the two big posts in between those two big posts at the moment. How concerned are you around that? Because we've seen that the last couple of weeks. I want to keep this mostly positive, but how concerned are you around that going into next week?
I'm not. I mean, Voss said it himself. That's one of the key takeaways in his presser post game. So he's obviously got that down to work on. But I'm not overly stressed about it because I know that you got Martin and Harry to come back, to be honest. And I think it's going to be purely more so down to personnel. I mean, you saw last week when Harry did go off that we sort of lacked that connection. We actually struggled to score. I think after he came off, what did we kick? Just the one goal, was it?
Yeah.
Last week in Sydney, more or less, something like that. It was only a goal or two. It wasn't, we didn't really have the connection or the conviction going forward. So, yeah, I mean, it could be ball movement. It could even be a little bit of personnel as well with Martin and Harry. Even if it could be someone else off the half back, to be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if something happens there, just to be able to sort of help in that area as well. But yeah, I do see a couple of changes in personnel, but I think it's they'll go to work on it this week for sure, heavily, because I think against Brisbane, it's going to be a shootout, I reckon.
Dan, do you think it's important we clean it up, or is it all based off the back of pressure and intensity when ball hits a deck and you can make up for mistakes like that?
I think naturally it will. I agree with Jules, actually. I think Harry Mackay coming in, and Voss has already said that if he's ready, he's playing him. Like, that's how open he is and was with it. And it does obviously then change the way in which we do go inside 50. I think our pressure and intensity are a big factor as to why we can make up for when we don't. But I think we're clearly good enough to get inside 50 and to clean that up this week. I don't think it's something to be too worried about. Well, obviously have to see.
Let's not. I mean, against Sydney, it was a high pressure game in terms of being our first final in 10 years. A large chunk of the players, if not 90% of the players had never played finals before. In front of 90 2,000 people, whatever it was. And then now as well, 96,000 people against Melbourne. And Melbourne bring the heat. Melbourne, their pressure gauge first quarter was off the charts.
But
so let's just not, I mean, Melbourne did play a very, very good game of brand of football as well, defensively as well. They're, if not the number one defensive team in the comp, So
well, that's
we've got to
that's
sort of
right.
understand that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like you have to, you can't take credit away from how good like May and Lever were. Like you obviously, and also having Martin and Harry out, that we talk about continuity. That changes the continuity of the forward line. You've got Kennedy in there that hasn't played for God knows how long. So these factors here play a massive part as to the way in which we do go forward and our ball use. I know it was obviously errors down the ground as well, but if you're talking about purely inside 50, I think that you have Martin and Harry coming back in, and I think the continuity that we always talk about is fixed there. I think I'm just confident.
Yeah, we'll get to the preview of the Brisbane game just after we do our votes in a minute, and Libby gets her last word in and all that sort of thing. But to finish off, like we've obviously broken down the game prior to the fourth quarter, but that was. I think Melbourne had 5 shots at goal. 5 after they got back in front, they had 5 opportunities to put us away. And I remember, obviously there was 2 big moments, and it was Gawn marking in the pocket was the first one where I thought, I think we're done. I think we're cooked. And he misses. I went, fuck. That was the first time I went, fuck. Maybe it's just our time. Like maybe all of this is falling for us. And then 3 minutes 20 to go, Oliver marks the ball, or gets a free kick, can't even remember, just outside 50 on the boundary line. And I turned to everyone. I turned to you. I turned to my dad. Everyone. I just said, listen, if he kicks this goal, they can have the win, because this would be a fucking massive goal from there. I was 52, 53 meters out on the boundary line, and it's sailing through, boys. It is sailing through, and there's confusion about what's going on. And we see the replay. Neither Carlton player got a hand to it. I don't know how they didn't get a hand to it. Max Gawn saved us. He saves us by keeping the ball in play on the line. Now, this shit does not happen to us. Like, I can't stress this enough. We're not a club that this sort of stuff happens to. We're usually the club that's doing that sort of shit, where it's going against us. Everything is going for us at the moment, and it has been for the last 3 months.
Even, like, I know you only talk about 2 of those scenarios, Joe, or 2 of those situations, but, I mean, I remember the other 2. I remember 2 of the other 5, of the 5. Cosy Pickett's bouncing at right angles, hits the post.
Right angles.
Yeah.
The Bailey Frisch one, I watched the replay again, and in the commentary, they said from that spot, from that right forward pocket, over the course of the season, he's kicked 9 goals out of 9.
No,
from that
across
spot.
his
He was
across his career.
Yeah.
Across his career.
Across his career.
He's never missed.
Oh, there you go.
From that spot, he had never
from the
missed.
exact same spot. That's ridiculous.
Scary.
And he's missed.
Like, all of this is going our way. Everything. Yeah. Here's another moment. I think the goal they kicked in the second quarter, and it gets called back for a score review after the fact.
Yeah.
Brody Kemp fingertips again. Like, this is happening every single week at this point that it's falling for us. And boys, you look at every premiership team over the last 20 years, however long we've been watching footy, all of them have talent, skill, effort, but they've all got an element of luck on their side. And right now, the football gods are looking at us going, we're going to give you everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
I think it's an element of that, but it's also an element of who can cope under the pressure better, really. And at the moment, we are. Like, yeah, if you have a look at the last play, I know we'll probably get into it, but
let's go there now before we get into votes.
Yeah, but Weeders takes the intercept mark, looks inboard instantly.
You know what, Jules? How's this? Jules? Let's just
play it again. Doesn't that just get better?
Players are just
every
melting
time?
away from us.
It's better every time.
It gets better.
Oh, but think about it, man. Like instantly, Wieders looks inside. Holland's cleaned. Instantly moves on. Doc, Melbourne player, don't know what he's doing. Should have taken body, everything, socks, shoes, shin pads, whatever Doherty was wearing. Didn't. Turns, pop shoulder, still overhead, clean, runs, bounces, hits Akers. You know what the thing was as well? Do you know? So obviously everyone's wearing Govers next to Akers because he obviously sort of disguised the protection for Akers to be able to mark the ball. But Kent was also actually there as well.
Yeah.
He was. Yeah.
Close.
So that
in
we threw the kitchen sink at it. Threw the kitchen sink at it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just all blind. And then, like, I know we've talked about it to a certain extent at large, but even the manner in which after the goal and we set up so quickly behind the ball, once the bounce has obviously been done by the umpire in the middle, it was just I know we didn't mark the ball and it wasn't really clean, but in terms of our pressure and all those individual moments with Chera, with Hollands, I mean, we couldn't have done it any better, really.
Well, I'll follow on from that, Jules, because there's the moment where the ball spills out from the stoppage, and it's the moment where Kennedy ends up with it to get that behind. And you could see Lever shit himself to get the ball. But it was like we pounced on it.
Yeah.
It was when I'd seen it again, the hesitation from him. But then we were so hungry for it. It's really telling of where this group's at. It really is.
Yeah.
It was
they weren't able to play in the moments. That's for sure.
Yeah. It was symbolic.
That's right.
It was symbolic of who wanted it more, just in that moment, in that split second, and that was reflected the night. It reflected the night.
Yeah, and that's why they're out in straight sets twice, mind you, in the last couple of years. Yeah,
they would be I use this phrase a lot, but they would be ripping their balls out this morning and today and tomorrow and for the rest of the off season, going, how have we kicked 18 goals, 32 in the first 2 weeks of our finals campaign? This isn't a Melbourne show, so we'll do this quickly. But they, to be fair, probably should have won both of them. They just couldn't convert. That is typical Melbourne, as Max Gorn said last week. Typical Melbourne. Just quickly on that last play, right? The Wiedering. I've got a couple of things here. Wiedering, Hollands, Doherty, Akers. Firstly, our generation and the generations just after us have been told by the generations before us about a moment in 1999, about a tackle laid in the middle of the MCG that got us into a grand final. Fraser Brown is all we've ever heard. And how many times have we watched the 99 prelim? I don't even remember it, but it's something that we've had to hold on to for literally 23 years because we've had nothing else. We've had nothing else. The Wiedering to Hollands to Doherty to Akers goal, that is our Fraser Brown moment for our generation that we will tell our kids about. I'm telling you now, that there is we're going to look our kids in the eye and go, you weren't there for the semi-final against Melbourne when we took the house down. And Blake Akers with one shoulder and Sam Doherty with one shoulder got us over the line. That's our moment. We've finally, as a generation, we can hang our hat on a genuine moment for like forever. Whatever happens from here, like I'm sure, hey, there might be a better moment from this next week or the week after. Who knows? But I'm saying right now,
it's our moment. It'd be even more special if we win the granny.
Of course.
Yeah.
Secondly, you can't script this shit. You really can't. That same wing, that same spot where Wiedering intercepted that ball, do yourselves a favor. Go and watch round 22 last year when Cozzy Pickett broke our heart. That exact same spot on the ground. Lever had the ball and went inboard. and Motlop couldn't affect the contest, and they went forward and kicked one from the top of the goal square.
Wow.
This year, we have the ball in the exact same spot, and we look to the corridor and switch, and Judd McVie can't impact a critical contest against Doherty, and we go to the top of the square, and we score to end their season. You cannot script this shit. There are writers in Hollywood that do this for a living, that write all day. You couldn't sell this as a script to a Hollywood director. You couldn't, because they'd look at you and go, that would never, ever happen. It's ridiculous. We're watching a genuine movie play out in front of our eyes, boys, because you can't script it. And I tell you what, if Collingwood win on Friday and we win on Saturday, there is nothing ever again in our lives that we'll be able to say that we lived far from reality for a year, because this is what it feels like right now. That's what it feels like.
Do you think that there'll be a documentary about this season if we were going to win the grand final from here?
Oh, why not?
It should be.
Like,
They're cool.
It's
Definitely
definitely 18 of them.
Could you imagine?
People that have never seen footy will watch this shit and they'll understand. It's crazy. It is crazy. All right. Let's move on with the votes. Let's do this. All pretty much the same this week. Same 3 players. Who wants to take it?
I'll start if you want.
Jules, just how about this? Because we'll go through this part quickly, because we've already spoken about Walsh and TDK, but just talk to us about Wiedering and his importance on the night, because it's one we haven't touched on yet.
Mate, he was huge, to be honest. I don't know if he really had like an opponent that was sort of like McDonald. He was quiet. I think he sort of went to Smith in the last quarter and sort of got him quiet as well, which was nice. But it's just his ability to intercept those and his leadership, really. His leadership has come on leaps and bounds of this. I mean, it's always been great, but it's come on leaps and bounds as the season's gone on. There was one moment. Don't know what quarter it would have been. I reckon it might have been the third, to be honest. And Melbourne kicked the goal. And Wiedering, he charged into, and I think I called it out, actually. He charged into the centre square just to rip into the midfield group.
Yep.
To let them know what was happening and what was going on. And that takes a lot of character and a lot of leadership to be able to look to his teammates in the eyes and basically tell them what is going on wrong and what we actually needed to try to do to implement and try to get a foothold on what was happening in that quarter. So for me, that says a lot about himself and the character, as well as the other players too, to be able to react because we did. So it was just sensational from him. But the other two sort of speak for themselves. But mate, there's a lot of honourable mentions, to be honest.
Oh yeah,
Chris
and one,
Motlop,
yeah.
Newman.
Well, I was about to say, Dan.
Yeah,
I'll throw this. Let me throw this to Dan Jules, because he messaged me about Cripper today, and he said
because
it hasn't been spoken about, but Cripps' game was fucking huge.
Yeah, I think not that it went unnoticed, because obviously the more people you speak to, the more his name obviously gets mentioned. But his game, and if you haven't watched it, go and watch it again, because it was Cripper doing what Cripper does. But then you're looking at the impact that he had, even with like ball in hand, and he's him selling candy in a moment. Like obviously then as well, coming on after that knock to the nose from Pickett, like he was the contested beast that he always is. But it's just even being able to, when he's doing what he does best and shrugging off 3 players and getting the hands away. But Cripper's game was sensational. It really was. And for me, it's hard because I was thinking, do I put him into my votes? Obviously didn't. But as a captain, it was it needs to be noticed, definitely, because it was a great performance.
It was almost impossible to do votes this week. There were so many others that you can mention.
Yeah, but Cripps sets the tone. Like we say our identities back off the back of contest and effort and intensity and intent. It starts from him, really. He leads the way.
Taking the game on. It was him taking the game on, though. Like,
of course,
that's the thing that just impressed me a lot. Just taking the game on at every opportunity. I
remember doing the GWS review from round 24, and we all said, like, we noticed his absence, and like how big he's going to be for us in a final series. And it's been blatantly obvious for 2 straight weeks now how enormous he is. Just being like his presence in a stoppage is just huge for us.
We had the most
But,
clearances. It was nine clearances for the game.
Yeah, 9 clearances, 16 contested possessions, just stupid. But you got Motlop, Akers,
Newman.
Yeah, McGovern had moments. There's just so many.
It's another team. It's
George
a team
Hewitt.
performance.
George Hewitt was massive late. Ollie Hollins, fuck me, man. The kid comes on in the fourth quarter, hasn't had a run all game. And he's got to come on in front of 96,000 people in the highest pressure point of the game and the highest pressure environment you could ever imagine in his first final as an 18-year-old. And he not only has an impact, but he helps set up that goal and lays the most important tackle of the game with
Hunter.
40 seconds to go on Lockie Hunter to make sure that they could not get that ball inside their forward 50. Like Ollie Hollins, he could have easily gotten a vote from me. Easily, just for moments. Lockie Fogarty laying tackles left, right, and center, attending center bounces, doing what he does again. And he got a 1-year deal today as well, which is brilliant for Fog. But just so many honourable mentions that missed out. All right, we are going to move on to a preview in just a minute, so stick with us. But until then, and anyway, Libby's last word.
Listen to this.
Hey everybody, it's Libby with Libby's last words, and this is what I thought about the game. What's a game? What an absolute game. I say that the last quarter, I was so nervous. It could have been anyone's game in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. But when Akers got the mark, I just went crazy. When he got the goal, I went even more crazy. It was absolutely superb. But I've just got to say right here, special shout out to Sam Walsh. He played absolutely amazing. And Sardi and Cripper. I was mind blown. And how well the boys played. It was just absolutely amazing. I'm so proud of them. They beat the Melbourne Demons. We're 1 game away from a grand final. It's crazy to say. Colton were 15s on the ladder this year, but now we're 1 game away from the grand final. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, Charlie only got a goal, but that's all right. He's always the King Charles. And Cripper literally risking his body for the ball. So proud of him. He played absolutely amazing, and it was just such an amazing game for the boys. Our defence was great. Doherty played so good, and Weeders. I'm happy we have those really good defenders. And yeah, Chera, thank you, Chera. You played absolutely amazing, and it was just such a nerve-wracking last minute of my life. I couldn't even watch. I had my hands over my eyes. I could not watch. I couldn't physically watch it. But anyways, bye-bye, Melbourne. See you next week, Brisbane. Anyways, go the Blues!
Bye-bye, Melbourne. See you later.
Oh, that lost me.
And yes, Libby, you're about to witness a prelim. The rest of us for the first
How
time
good.
in our lives that we can remember, boys. Saturday, 5:15 p.m. from the Gabba. Our toughest test yet. Coming up against Brisbane, who have not lost a game there all season, and their average winning margin at the Gabba this year is 6 goals. So let's not underplay how difficult this is going to be. Okay. But I tell you what, with the momentum that we've got and the belief in this group, we've got to go into this thinking that we've got a genuine chance at making a granny. We've got a chance.
This is
Let me say it again. Hold on. Let me say that again. Let me say this again. The Carlton Football Club is 2 hours of football, 4 quarters away, 1 win away from making a grand final on Saturday. Boys, we have to give ourselves a shot here.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I think I think this is the hardest game in football at the moment.
Going to the
If
Gabba.
Playing Brisbane at the Gabba. I'm not saying Brisbane is the best team in the comp. I'm not saying that. But playing Brisbane at the Gabba is the hardest game in the comp right now, without a shadow of a doubt. But we have Michael Voss at the wheel. And if there's any person that knows what it's like at the Gabba and what to expect, because he's being obviously one of their favourite sons, I'm telling you, we've got the bloke. We've got the man. So
It's true.
I just think we're set. And mind you, the only team, and I saw this today, the only team that we haven't bet since Voss has come on board as senior coach of the Carlton Football Club is Brisbane. That's the only team we haven't bet. Is the time now?
Yes, I did. Yep, I read that today. We have the only team we have not beaten is Brisbane since Voss has been at the helm. Yeah.
There you go.
So is the time
What a
now?
time.
With the way we've been playing, and Brisbane, they're a team. They're hard to beat, but you just never know. They haven't been in a prelim before. Usually they're one of the teams that are out in straight sets.
Well,
So-
here's another stat. Here's another stat for you. Brisbane have won 51 of their last 59 at the Gabba. They've lost 8. 4 of those 8 losses have been finals.
That was, yep. I was going to say,
So
that they've got some
they are
demons.
susceptible. They're susceptible in this situation. They have been, but they're a very different team this year. They can actually defend a little bit better than what they have in the past few years.
But finals are a different kettle of fish. And for me, they've got demons that they need to face as well. And I think that'll be at the back of their minds. And I said it before, towards the start of the show, this intensity that we're bringing at the moment, this causes you to make mistakes. This causes you to play with fear because we're always there. And we know what we're going to bring. They know what they're going to bring. They know what we're going to bring. They honestly do. And I guarantee that they're not sitting there happy that they are playing the Carlton Football Club. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. I don't think any team want to face us.
No chance.
There's no chance. My thinking is, well, the only teams I would say in the comp, well, if I was including the final 6 teams, okay, obviously Port and Melbourne were out, but I was thinking about this only, Thursday or Friday last week. The only 3 teams that have play in a finals-like atmosphere, or in the sort of the conditions in terms of the heat that's brought on, is Collingwood, Melbourne, and us. Melbourne's out now. The only other team's Collingwood. Like Jerry West, like really, they haven't really played. They played Port, and they played. Who else did they play?
St Kilda.
St Kilda. St Kilda towards their season making up numbers. Port making up numbers. I'm not saying that they're not a good team. They definitely are.
Well, they were. Yeah, they were making up numbers.
Yeah, no, but Jerry West, they're a good team. But I don't know if they played in the heat like what we have the last couple of weeks.
If you can stack it up against Melbourne.
And if Brisbane, I don't think they've played underneath that kind of duress yet either. So
for me, Brisbane have run and gun. Like, we know what we're going to get, right? They want it on the outside. They want to move it quick. They want to get it forward. They want to get it to Charlie Cameron, Joe Danaher, Eric Hipwood. They want to get it in the hands of their Zach Bailey and just be like electric. They're an electric team, right? When they're up and running. And forward of center, they are the best team in the comp by a long way in terms of hitting the scoreboard, having the creativity up in their forward 50. What they don't necessarily have is the pressure and intensity that us or Melbourne showed on Friday. I just don't think they do. I haven't seen Brisbane go to that level. I've seen Brisbane pile on 8 goals in a quarter, right, and have it their way downhill. I can't remember a game this year for Brisbane that I've watched where I've gone, fuck, that pressure is enormous. Like, that's huge. I can remember a lot. I can remember a lot of ours, and a lot that we have been able to, a lot that we've been able to really just dig in for 4 quarters now and go, nah, we're not going away. Like, we're that team that's not going to go away.
Yeah,
That's the key.
We just can't allow Brisbane to play it on their terms. It's that simple.
Yeah.
But we
It's that
won't.
simple.
We sustained that pressure. Joe, you hit the nail on the head by saying 4 quarters. We sustained that type of intensity for 4 quarters. And credit to Melbourne, because so did they. But as we've all said, they're a team that can bring it.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I think Brisbane matchups are important, particularly forward of centre. I think they've got a decent forward line, and particularly Charlie Cameron. I reckon he's the one that's going to be most likely to create havoc for us come Saturday.
And let's not underestimate the midfield, right? They got Lachie Neal in there, Brownlow medalist, who has a lot of finals experience at this point. You got Josh Dunkley, who's won a premiership, in the middle with him this year. The loss of Will Ashcroft's big for them, but Jasper Fletcher stood up. You got Hugh McCluggage. There's a lot of firepower in there that we still need to worry about in the middle. But for me, this week, this is purely going to come down to how well we can contain them on the spread in uncontested situations where they might be able to get it out from the contest, and how quickly can we go with them to make sure our back six isn't copping 60 inside 50s, 65 inside 50s.
Yeah, it's probably a similar look to Sydney, isn't it?
Yeah, very similar. Very
A
similar.
little bit.
Yep. All right. So that's how we beat them. The big question is who's going to come in to beat them, and we've all got the same this week. None of us were daring. We've all said Martin and Mackay come back in, which I think is critical. And Kennedy and Cunners are likely the two that make way. I think Hollands remains a sub. I think he did what he needed to do to stay in the side of sub next week. But I'm going to give one name that none of us have listed here.
Jesus.
And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who he'd come in for. I tried to do it today and I couldn't. But is Jack Silvani a chance?
I don't see it. I was talking to my dad today. He's like, "Oh, surely he's a chance." I don't see it. I only see him a chance if Harry isn't available. I reckon Kennedy still gets the nod over Jesus.
Oh, it's a big call.
Hard to say. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Hard. I still think he does because he's got the couple of games now under his belt. I only see Jesus coming in if Pito or TDK gets injured.
Dan?
That's the only way I see it happening, unfortunately.
I think he might be before Kennedy, personally. But I don't know where he fits at the moment, so no.
What about this one from Josh? I said Holland should be sub, but is Sauce a shout for a potential sub role?
I think
Holland's more impactful.
I just think
it's really it is really, really difficult to get.
But it's work rate
at the moment. It's very difficult to get him in.
It is difficult, but you got the likes of Fisher, Dow, Boyd. Who else is on the sidelines? Like, Durden. I think he's injured at the moment, but you got the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 probably players that could probably come in. It's very, very difficult.
It's tough to get him in. I think we're going to see Mackay Martin for Kennedy Cunners. I think that is the consensus at the moment.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's something else though.
Potentially,
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
potentially. But you back him in. Whatever team selection is, you back Voss in.
Yeah, 100%. I don't see any more than. I could 2 changes, obviously definite, but I don't see more than 3. Anyway.
All right. Before we finish off with Dan's segment, and I'm actually going to contribute to your segment tonight, Dan, because I've got one. I've got a not happy Joe. So
okay.
But before we do, just take a breath before you give a prediction, right? Take a breath. Who is winning this game? What is the final margin? Is Carlton playing? Are we sitting here next Sunday And are we talking about a preview for a grand final?
We're going to say it all on. Let's just all say it
No,
at
no,
the same
no,
time.
one at a
yes or
time.
no?
One at a time. One at a time. The audio doesn't pick it up if three of us say it.
Well, if you want people have asked me all day today.
On your
what's your
honest
prediction?
opinion.
I've said,
So try and take the emotion out.
I
It's
am.
hard, but try honest opinion.
Purely based on what I've seen with how we've played and the intensity that we've brought, we win by 10 points. We are making I'm telling you now, we are making a grand final. Everyone, if I've not wanted to answer this question because I don't want to get ahead of myself, we are making a grand final. 10 points.
Carlton by 12.
Are we really going to sit here and say that we're going to play?
We're making a fucking grand final.
Are you serious?
It's inevitable. I'm dreaming.
You know what,
I'm not waking up.
Nah, Jules, you know what? You know what? You hit the nail on the head. That word there. And Pommy's spoken about this a little bit too. You can't deny inevitability. And there is this inevitability about us and Collingwood meeting in 2 weeks' time. Like you can just feel it. Like it's there. For whatever reason, everything is falling into place to say you two are going to go head to head in the biggest grand final we have ever fucking seen, and it's the Blues by fuck it. I don't care how much we win by. We're winning. We're winning on Saturday. We are.
And I'll tell you something else. You think Charlie Curnow is going to be quiet? Watch him kick 4+. I'm telling you right now. Remember this pod. He'll be kicking 4+ at the Gabba.
Yeah, he's due. Boys, I hope we're right. I don't know
how we're going to do this show if we make a granny.
I don't know how we are going to do this show next week if we win a prelim and we're off to a grand final. I don't know. I might do it. You know what? I will do it naked. I've already got my pants. How's this? I've had my pants off tonight. I'm doing this in my underwear. No one's known, but it's been pants off for me tonight. That's where I'm at.
Just do it at a pub.
I might be able to get that sorted too. We'll see. I did think about that today, but anyway, let's think about that. Let's get through this one first, and then we'll sort it out. But to finish off, as we have,
keep calm. Count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10.
Not happy, Jan!
And you know what? How's this? You took Jules' segment tonight, so fuck you, Dan. I'm taking yours. I'm taking yours tonight.
Why are you being aggressive?
Here's my, I don't know, just because it's an aggressive segment, so I'm trying to get myself into the mood. Here's my not happy Joe for the week, all right? And this is big. One of our major partners of this football club is Virgin Australia. Thank you very much for fucking every single one of us this week. Price gouging, dogs. That's where I'm at. There's my not happy Joe. Thanks very much. That's it.
Short and sweet.
Do we start with that?
I was going to speak about the roadworks I had.
To be honest,
they put the roadworks sign in front of the driveway. At 11 o'clock at night, I had to move it.
Yeah, I know that's another one too. But to be honest, it's not Virgin's fault. Like it is what it is. I don't know if I can actually say that, considering they're a partner of the club. But at the end of the day, it's very hard for us to get up there. And right now, there's a few people that have asked tonight. Right now, we are not attending the prelim.
No,
the boys. I'm still trying. I'm going to try for tickets tomorrow. I'm telling you, we don't have a ticket at the moment. We just don't. I'm going to try.
Andrew Roper.
I'm going to try and get in the. I'm going to try and get into the pre-sale tomorrow to get as many tickets as I can. And I still think we're a late shout. Or come like Thursday.
I had a feeling.
I feel like we're going to go, fuck this, we're going. That's what
I'm thinking about that today. I know.
Yeah. So maybe. Right now we're not. Right now we're going to have a beautiful barbecue at Jules' parents' house. But we might be a real late call up. I feel like all three of us are in that headspace at the moment.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard not to.
Just
anyway,
get the tickets and we'll see.
Yeah. If I get tickets, we'll have something to think about. If I don't, then we're definitely not going. But anyway, boys, Oh, Curtis. Oh no.
Oh,
Oh no.
this is. We could be announcing we're going on
Can't fight fate.
pod.
Oh, Curtis. Curtis, send us a little DM on Instagram. I'll have a chat to you. We'll have to think about it. All right, boys. It's been an absolute pleasure, as it has been for the last 3 months on this podcast. For everyone that joined us tonight, thank you very much in the live chat. For anyone listening in your car, wherever you're listening to us, thank you for tuning in. And until next week, a week where episode 109 next week, and it could be the episode that we are talking about the Blues heading into a grand final. And until then, boys, up the fucking baggers, man.
Up the baggers!
Baggers. Imagine we just